data, then you have to prepare to process and analyze the data. And usually when you are doing quantitative research, you will have numbers, and then you have to arrange the number in order that you can understand what the numbers mean. So one of the ways that we always do is doing it in descriptive statistics. The way that we present the data in descriptive statistics is by tabular representation. So you have to be able to tabulate the data. And then the second way is by doing graphical presentation. So you arrange the data and then you can present it in a graphic form, in graphs. And then the next one would be the calculation of the central tendency. As a group, how the group perform. So we do it only find out the central tendency, and then we'll also find out the measure of variability of the data. So how vary the data among the group, we can see it by measuring the variability of the data. So there are 4 things that you have to be able to do: making table, and then making graphs, and then calculating the central tendency, and calculating the variability of the data. So now we come to the first one, to tabulate the data, or usually we call it tabular representation of the data. That is a way of summarizing a set of data, either categorical nominal or ordinal data or continuous data after being divided up into sensible groups. So when you are collecting data and then the data is either nominal, ordinal, interval, or ratio, then you can do tabulation. In tabular representation, we have what we call the simple frequency distribution and cumulative frequency distribution and group frequency distribution and cumulative group frequency distribution. So we have simple and cumulative, either in frequency or in percentage. It's quite the same, frequency and percentage. The appearance will be the same, only the number of the figure is different because the frequency has been converted into frequency has been converted into percentage. Now we come to the simple frequency distribution. So this is an example. You have collected data and then you have a set of temperature in 30 days. So in 1 month, you try to record, to have a note on high temperature every day. So this one, the data, this one's the data. On the first day, second day, third day, until the end of the month, the highest temperature of the day is this. So sometimes 50 and sometimes 46. So this is your data. How you are going to present this data in order that it means it is meaningful. So once we try to calculate the frequency. So from the highest one, the highest temperature of the month is 51, and then the lowest is 43. And then you count how many times the 51 occurs. So 1, 2, 3, 4. So there are 4 times. We call it tally. We told the score, and then you find out that the temperature of 51 occurs 4 times during the month, and 50 also 4 times, and 49 occurs 6 times. So you have the frequency here. So here, when you present the data this way, it may look like something that is meaningful. You can see that what is the most frequency highest temperature occurring during the month is 49 because it happens 6 times, and others are lower than that. So it is meaningful after you have the frequency distribution. This is what we call the simple tabular frequency distribution, the simple one. So that means the 51 it occurs 4 times, and we put it into percentage. 4 divided by 30, because it's 30, n is 30, times 100, and we have 13.33%, and 50 also the same. So here is the simple frequency and simple percentage. So it looks nice when you have tabulated the data. But then if the individual scores are too many, and then the table will be very long. Okay, that is why we may want to convert it into group frequency and group percentage. This is what we call the simple frequency and percentage distribution, and then we can have the cumulative. This is what we call the cumulative frequency. What we mean by cumulative is we start from the bottom. So 43 occurs 3 times, and then 44 also 3 times. So we come up to 30. The number of days is 30, and then you observe 30 times, 30 days, and then the first 43 degree 3 times, and then the 44 also 3. So you just add it up, and then 3 becomes 6, and then you have 4. 6 plus 4 is 10, and then you have 3, and then you have 3 plus 10 is 13, and finally you have the 13. This is what we call the cumulative frequency distribution. Similarly to cumulative percentage, you have the 10%, and this is 10%. That means we have 20% plus 13 becomes 33, plus 10 becomes 43%, and then finally you will have 100%. What we call the cumulative percentage and cumulative frequency. So once again, when you have individual score, you can have the simple frequency and simple percentage, or you may want to have the cumulative frequency and cumulative percentage. Okay, next, because once again, when we have a lot of individual numbers, the table will be very long down. And then usually we make it simpler by using what we call the group frequency. So meaning that the score is grouped together. It depends on us how many groups we want. For example, here we want 3 groups. So that means that we will have the interval. What will be the interval for a group of 3 from the 43 to 51? So the way we group the data is by doing this step. Determine the number of classes or groups. How many groups? You want 3, okay? And then compute the interval size, the highest minus the lower. So divided by the number of groups. So 43 and 51, the difference is how many? What is the difference? 51 minus 43 is 8. 8 divided by 3 because you want 3 groups. So it's about 2.67 or 3. So we will have an interval of 3. So 3 from 43, 44, 45, and then 46, 47, 49, 48, sorry, 49, 50, and 51. And then we have the group now with an interval of 3. So remember, the way to find the interval is the highest score minus the lowest score divided by the number of group that you want. So 51 minus 43 is 8 divided by 3 because you want 3 group, and then the group will be this one: 43 to 45, 46 to 48, and 49 to 51. And then we go back to the data. We can count how many 43 to 45. Yeah. The frequency is 10. 4 plus 3 plus 3. So we have 10. we have 10, 43 to 45. The frequency is 10, and 46 to 48 is 6, and 49 to 50 is 14. And the midpoint, 43, 44, 45 is 44. Between 43 and 45 is 44. And the second one, 47, and so on is 50. And then you can calculate the percentage. You can also look at the percentage here. 10 plus 10 plus 13, 33.33%. And then the second group would be 20, 10, 10 and 0, 20%. And then we have the 20%. And then the last one would be 20 plus 13 plus 13 becomes the 46. And then you can also have the cumulative frequency here. 10 plus 6, 10 plus 6, 16 plus 14 becomes 30. Similarly to cumulative percentage, you have 33, and then plus 20, you have 53, plus 46, and then you have 100%. So this is the way we have the group frequency. We have now with this much slimmer table comparing to the individual score. So we have only what is the score, the temperature 51 to 43. But whenever we have more than that, that means that we have longer table. That's why we had better group the data and become simpler. So this is the way to find out the simple and group, simple and cumulative frequency, either individual or group. And this is an example of a table that we can show the data in a meaningful way. So for example, this is from a research article. The number of sample of the research from Makassar, there are 8 schools, from Parepare 6 schools, and Takala 3 schools. And the number of students that becomes the respondent of the study is male and female from Makassar. From a school, we have 106 female and 126. Should be what is frequency 126, and then the percentage is this, and the total is here. Okay, so this is one of the ways to present the data descriptively using what we call the tabular representation of the data. Okay, now we come to graphs. So you can also present the graphs, the data using graph. We have just now our data. This one, the temperature 51, 50 to 43, and the frequency is 4, 4, 6, and finally 3. And then you put this data into a graph, and that becomes like this. So 43, there are 4, 44, there should be 3, and 45 is 4, and 49 is the highest one, the most frequently occurring in the data is 6. So here is the what we call the histogram, or sometimes we call it bar graph. Okay. So depending on the type of data and the intention of the researcher, you can select whether you want to present it by table or by graphs. Okay. So this is another one. I will call it bar graph. So from the group frequency and percentage. Group frequency is the blue one, and percentage is the red one. So we have the group. The lowest one is 43 to 45. There are 10 and 33%, and then second group 46 to 48, 6. The frequency and the percentage is 20. And temperature 49 to 51, there are 14 in frequency, and that means the 46.67%. So we can present the data in a graphical form, and that might show or to visualize the data, and maybe it is more meaningful than the table. Okay. One of the way to consider whether using table or graph, when you are using table, your intention is to show the detail of your data. When you use graph, you want to visualize the data, especially when there is a comparison. Compare between, for example, you have 2 months collecting the temperature. Probably you collect during the peak of the summertime, July or August, and then January, for example, in January and July, how will it look? It is a good way to present the difference between the temperature in January and July by using graphs instead of table. So when you want to show comparison between groups, and then visualizing using graphic is a better way rather than table. Yeah, I think this is the consideration for using table or graphs. Yeah, this is a different type of graphs. Okay, we have pie charts. I believe that you are familiar with Excel or other type of statistical packages, and then the program or the software will help you to make the chart. You can just select whether you want a polygraph or pie chart or bar graph or line graph. So we have line graph, and then here we have pie chart. This is another narration chart when you are doing mostly qualitative one. You can also put chart like this. Another line charts when you have big sum of data, then using like graph will show the movement of, for example, what is the exchange, stock exchange, for example. They use this line chart to show the movement of the stock during the day. Flow charts, this evolution chart, you can use any type of chart that may look more interesting. Tree chart. Okay, so this is the first, what is the first part of our presentation today. Usually when you are looking at the statistical book, you'll have another one we call a stem and leaf. So if this is the data, and then you want to have a stem and leaf presentation, graphical presentation, and then you say here, all the 30s score will be in this 3. So we have 33, so 3 and 3 means 33. You have 4 and then 49, 49, and then you have another 40 here, 42. So, okay, you have 42, and then 49. So you have 3, 40, 42, 49, 49. And you have also 3 50s, 53, 55, 55. Jadi 5, 3, 5, 5. Means that you have 3 score in 50. One is 53, the second one is 55, and the second one is 55. This is all we call the stem and leaf. And now you come to 60s, you have 61, 61, and then 63, so 6, 1, 3, 7, 8, 8, 9, 9. That means that you have 2 68s, 68, 68, and also 2 69s, 69, 69. This is what we call the stem and leaf. Usually the statistical book will always present this kind of data presentation. Okay, if you have any questions so far about this tabular and graphical presentation of data before we move on to central tendency and variability. Anyone who wants to ask questions or comments on the first part of this descriptive statistic? So what we have in the first part is presenting the data using table and graphs, okay, to make the data meaningful to the reader. And then you have to process that and present it in a better way. So the first one is by using table. We call it tabular representation, and the second one by graphs. And tabular representation has two ways. The first one is simple frequency and percentage distribution, and then simple and cumulative. Simple and cumulative frequency and percentage distribution. And the second one is grouped. If the data is quite large, then you may have to group the score in order to have simpler one and much easier to understand. We call it group frequency and percentage distribution. So if there is no questions or comments, we come to the second part. We discussed just now, that will be the central tendency and the measure of variability.